What's up, everybody? Welcome to State of the Nation, the Athletics Raiders podcast. Jimmy Durkin and Vic Tafur taking the show on the road here in high elevation to Denver. And the Raiders, this was a tough one. They lost 20-19 to the Broncos. A game that, they played for stretches. They played pretty well. Looked like to some degree they ran out of gas, but you have a 12-point lead in the third quarter. Late in the third quarter, you want to win that game.
Yeah, they dominated the first half, and Derek Carr at one point completed 17 straight passes. I think he finished just missing 3. So, yeah, pretty much he was the first guy ever to complete 9% of his passes for throwing more than 30. So he had a great day, just didn't do enough in the end to get the offense enough of a cushion because the defense definitely fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, Carr goes 29 of 32 for 288 yards. And, a lot of it was, again, going underneath, but there was times where they were able to push the ball down the field. We saw Amari Cooper early on. He reemerged today, targeted 10 times, and he caught all 10 targets for 116 yards. And you saw early on it was a lot of the underneath passes, which that's fine. Right. I mean, that was kind of my argument last week of where I thought they failed is that they needed to go to those underneath Amari routes to get him going. They did, and then we had that one drive where it was a 30-yard pass play and a 20-yard pass play. They all of a sudden were able to hit him down the field. But
there was that one weird play where
the double PI.
A nice ball from Carr, and they called it double PI, which is
I've never seen that.
I've never seen that. So that was also a play that could have been a big play for him. But I liked how they got Cooper on 2 straight 3rd and 2 passes.
Yeah.
Short. He can do that. He can be your third down guy for you. So he had 10 catches on 10 targets. I think that's more than he's had combined in his previous 6 games in Denver. Or 6 games total against Denver. Sorry, but I think it was nice to see him back in sync with Derek. I think John Gruden kind of rolled his eyes when we brought it up. Like Cooper's always a part of the offense. You can't just take one game and make a huge general statement. But I thought Marshawn Lynch did a pretty good job. He ran and got some tough yards. The Broncos are hard to run against, but I thought Marshawn gave him some balance. I just think that they had some key screw-ups in the second half, both on offense and defense.
Before we get to the goals, I do want to kind of go back to that, Gruden's, he's always in the game plan. Like, last week, the Rams were playing 8 to 10 yards off. Those little throw a quick 2-yard hitch to him, throw those little quick passes to him, those quick hitters, those were there all day long. And if you're emphasizing Amari Cooper in the game plan, you throw those.
Right. I think Derek's, it's delicate now. It's early on with Derek and John Gruden Derek Carr trying to form a cohesive plan. I think last week both guys said at some point that the obvious focus was Jared Cook and then Jalen Richard. That was the matchup they wanted. So I think Carr looked to those maybe to a fault. Maybe there are times that Gruden wanted him to look somewhere else, and maybe Carr was locked in on. He wants to please John Gruden. He wants to do what the coach wants and kind of find his way as he does that. So I thought today you saw some more progression out of Derek Carr in the offense. I think it's a positive. I hate to. You don't want to stress too many positives when they're 0-2, but I think you look at the offense, and they're definitely making strides after a preseason in which they didn't play at all. I mean, their preseason, pretty much the focus was don't get hurt. That was pretty much the goal of preseason, so I guess that was accomplished. But it's going to have an effect on you when you start the regular season.
Another positive that I saw, and this is what I wrote about tonight, was the response to this loss. We talked about it. Some of us wrote about it last week that it was kind of weird, right? I think that Gruden got up there and just gushed about being proud of the effort, and the players were kind of like taking that loss in stride. This one they didn't, and it's in part of it. I think a loss like that is harder to take in stride, but this team can't I don't want John Gruden as a coach to be I'm proud of the effort. No, like John Gruden, you need Chucky to come out and be, you look at his. It's funny. I think if you were to just read the transcript of his press conference, you probably wouldn't notice it just from the words he said. But obviously, we're there in that room. He was cutting off questions. Yeah. He wasn't letting you finish questions. He was jumping in to answer it. He almost got out of there after 2 minutes. And then we wrangled him in for another minute and a half, 3.5-minute post-game press conference, and then he kind of stomped up and said, sorry for being a grouch.
He's got some swagger to him, and the team wants to have that same swagger. They want to have the same confidence. And now all of a sudden you're 0-2. 2, so that confidence is not really going to be there. And like Derek Johnson said, now I don't want to say it's a panic mode, but we're at a point in our season where we have to turn it around now. We can't keep thinking, it's going to happen for us in the long run. And they have to actually win a game. And they had this one. This was theirs to win. And there was, like I mentioned, so many things in the last half that happened, which kind of cost them the win. If a couple hadn't happened, they probably win this game.
Let's talk about some of them. I think we can start. Offensively, there was a third quarter, right?
Yeah.
4th and 1, they go for it.
So it was early fourth quarter.
Early fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay, the 4th and 1.
I thought it was a great play call. It was a play action to Keith Smith. He was open, and then I think the ball wasn't perfect. It maybe was a little bit.
Yeah, I think Carr kind of indicated that he threw the ball earlier, like before Keith was able to kind of get positioned where his eyes were on the route. Keith Smith isn't going to see it that way. He tweeted, that hey,
the ball hits you in the hand. You're open, and the ball hits you in the hands. You got to catch it. So that was the killer because they were on their 33-yard line, I believe, and they were kind of at that point they had a nice lead. That would have given them a nice little bit more of a cushion. That was a big play that really hurt them.
Yeah, and then you look at defensively. We talk about it seemed like they kind of ran out of gas, but even before that, you go back to Bruce Irvin's unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. That was on a third down play. Would have set up a 4th down.
They made a nice stop on 3rd down. Then Bruce apparently got called for, I think he was jogging at the official. That's what John Gruden said.
What it kind of looked like. It didn't. They never really saw a whole lot. Was. He probably said something you're not supposed to say.
Right. Bruce was asked about it. He didn't want to talk about it, and Gruden just mentioned it was a verbal thing. So. Again, for a guy who's supposed to be your leader, that can't happen. And Bruce also made another really bad play later on. It was 3rd and 2, and Royce Freeman, he had him dead to rights in the backfield, and Freeman got around him and gained 7 yards for a 1st down. That was another one of the crippling plays that we talked about.
And obviously, in a 1-point game, when you have a PAT that's blocked, that's a big difference. And Donald Penn kind of wore that one pretty hard. That was basically on him. He said it was on him. He's like, I don't want sympathy, but I'm still getting used to that right side. And I guess kind of somebody was able to pin his arm, and he kind of got him knocked down, and they were able to get back there and block that kick. And huge plays like that just cost you when a lead slips away like that.
Yeah, I just think you hate to say it. They're pretty much a veteran team. Obviously, they're the oldest team in the league, but they're still trying to find ways to win with this new staff. They're still trying to find their way. And so I think, there's a lot of positives. There's also some things you have to be concerned about, like the lack of a pass rush again. So obvious to say they need Khalil Mack, but that's not the players can't help that. The players are doing their best. It was the hottest game here in Broncos history, 92 degrees. The players played hard. At the end, it kind of wilted, but I think that was more because of a lack of pressure than it was the heat. I think Case Keenum kind of realized, hey, I can stand in the pocket and I have more time than it appears I had in the first half. I can stand here and wait for guys to get open. I can make some plays. And the last one to Patrick to kind of get him in position for the field goal, that was a killer. McGarren Conley gave him too much cushion, and he missed the tackle. Leon Hall missed the tackle, and all of a sudden it's a 26-yard play down to the 18-yard line. So that was you needed to stop. And they did the opposite. One
thing as I went back and watched that play a little bit more, that I think if when the film study when they're discussing it, it looked like I'm guessing maybe Hall was supposed to be on Emmanuel Sanders, and you see as the ball is being thrown, you see Gary on instead of surging toward Patrick, his guy who the ball is being thrown to, he's dropping back. And then you see kind of out of the corner, Emmanuel Sanders came running the corner route. I think he saw, he basically got stuck in this kind of no man's land where he's got his guy, but he sees Emmanuel Sanders, a much more dangerous receiver than Tim Patrick.
Behind him, right.
And I think he initially saw the ball getting thrown. Oh, is he going to Sanders? And that cost him too much cushion, and he was able, plenty of room for him to put a little move on him, and that was a big play.
It was. And we don't know exactly how they drew it up with what the assignments were, but I also think the safeties probably would have blamed that one. After the game, their secondary coach, Derek Ansley, was talking to Gilchrist, and Reggie Nelson was not happy at all. I think it was about that play in the last sequence of plays. Well, he went and addressed his two safeties about what he thought should have happened. So I think they also probably had some more responsibilities in that corner of the field. So it was way too easy a play. It was at that point, they're up against the wall anyway, but the 26-yarder kind of sealed their fate.
Yeah, going back to the pass rush, and Yeah, they had one sack again today, Mo Hurst, and this is when Twitter is having a kind of a field day with this one. John Gruden asked after the game, what do you have to do to get a pass rush? A full 5-second pause, and I'll read the quote. We got to do something. We got to do something. We got to get there. We got to win some one-on-ones and maybe call up some more blitzes. We got to figure something out. We will. And the we got to do something when you just traded away such an. I mean, we're not gonna harp on that, but when there's no pass rush in the game, and when your coach is saying we got to do something, I mean, you can't help but look at the pass rusher they traded away. I mean, you can't help but do it.
And we talked about this before, but John Gruden, the personnel guy, didn't do John Gruden the coach any favors. And you mentioned blitzing more. They blitz a lot this game. I mean, so I'm not sure how much more you can blitz with this kind of exposure stuff. But it's just one of those things where, again, I think if the offense did a little bit more, then I think they would have been able to withstand this late rally. But just the kind of thing kind of snowball like they did last week. Second half, collapsed for a second week in a row.
I wonder if, when you talk about you maybe got to blitz more, if they try to carve out more of a role for Carl Joseph. I think that's one thing that Carl Joseph can do fairly well.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a whole lot of, I don't think they love him out there.
I know Eric Harris played a lot more today. I don't really know. Did Carl play a lot more?
Not that much. I think he was in at least. And
Eric Harris made some nice play. Eric Harris flashed a little bit. So yeah, I think Carl Joseph now has become their gunner because they got rid of Keon Hatcher and Dwayne Harris was hurt. So the gunners today were Rogers Cromartie.
He made a really nice play as a gunner.
Yeah, and Carl Joseph. So I mean that just may be his role. I think Eric Harris is ahead of him on the depth chart. They only list where they rank the safeties, the coaches don't, but I get the feeling that Eric Harris is definitely ahead of him. And I think, Reggie Nelson, for all his I don't say mistakes, but for all his weaknesses, he doesn't have the speed to close anymore like he once did probably. But he made a nice tackle today. I just think he's the guy. He's the veteran guy they want in there. So I just think that I don't know if Carl Joseph has a real big upside as far as a role there.
I mean, you just wonder at some point if they really are in a rebuilding mode, you kind of have to take a good long look at Carl. And, I mean, maybe they've already decided that he's not a part of the long-term plans, but I would think, he is one of those guys that is young, a first-round pick, a guy that was thought highly enough around.
I just think that
wasn't their first-round pick, of course. But
I think Gruden and Gunther think he's too small. I think no matter what he does, and again, he hasn't made a lot. He hasn't made a lot of plays when he was playing before that, so I think that's part of the issue. But I just think that in their mind, he's too small, and he can't fix that. You can't convince someone you're not too small. I think you are too small, and so I think, at this point, he probably has to wait for someone to get hurt or to have another shot. But I do think their top three safeties are pretty well set.
Yeah. Well, where do they go from here? We know physically where they go. They'll go back home, get ready for a trip to Miami, where I looked up the early forecast for Sunday in Miami, 89 degrees, scattered thunderstorms, and 75% humidity. Basically, exactly what you'd expect going to South Florida in mid-September. And coming off a game where they played, it was 92 degrees here, the hottest recorded home game in Broncos history. Playing that, here you did it not in the heat and the elevation. Next week you won't have the elevation, but you have the heat and the humidity. And everyone says now, it doesn't. We can't. That's not a factor. Blah blah blah. It's a factor.
Right.
For a team that you question their depth right now, that's another game where you wonder how their depth can hold up.
True, and that spot's always been tough for him playing at Miami in the early games. Historically, they've always wilted there, but. I'm going to look at the positives some more. I think that you look at the offense, they made some strides. Carr and Cooper had never played well here ever until today, so I think that's a big step for them mentally. I think Marshawn Lynch is running pretty hard. He looks like he's in good shape. He's running hard. So you have some offensive balance. Martavis Bryant made some plays today. He flashed a little bit. I think, if anything, the question I have left in the offense is Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson hadn't done very much.
No.
He's supposed to be everything we heard and everyone hoped for was at least he's like, he's an even swap for Crabtree. They kind of replaces him and maybe not much. But at this point, I'd say it's been a downgrade. I think he hasn't given you what Crabtree gave you. So I think that could be a concern going forward. But other than that, Jared Cook is still. He had that that false start was a killer today. That false start kind of really hurt them a lot. But otherwise, he still showed he's a weapon in this offense. So they got some tools. I'm not sure about Doug Martin. I mean, I think that may be a case where Gruden's enthusiasm and excitement got the best of him because he had some chances today. Didn't do much with him in that one. And I don't want to dwell too much in the play calling, but that 2nd and 9 call. I mean, the first Jared Cook's penalty gave him turned a 2nd and 4 to a 2nd and 9. That was a killer. Then they gave the ball to Doug Martin, kind of on just a inside run on 2nd and 9 when you're trying to win a game.
No.
I don't know what that's going to do. I mean, so they were kind of I don't know. I just think that, but besides all that stuff, I think their offense is making strides. I think that the Dolphins' defense is not as good as either the Rams' defense or the Broncos' defense, so that's got to be a reason for optimism. And the defense has been solid. I mean, again,
until the fourth quarter, I mean, that was one of the storylines we were discussing is the defense, and now, I mean, they shut them out in the first half. They were. I think they opened the game with 3 straight 3-and-outs. I mean, they were playing well there. I mean, and this is not a team that has defensive talent that's built to win you games. They're supposed to just do enough to let the offense win the game.
I mean, they definitely need more out of Bruce Irvin. I mean, Bruce Irvin's supposed to be their lead pass rusher and playmaker, and he had a rough start to his season. So I think he's a guy that definitely all eyes will be on in Miami to kind of make some plays. Yeah,
really. Outside of that strip sack he had last week, he hasn't done a whole lot. Talked about Marshawn Lynch, 18 carries, 65 yards. I think it's a kind of performance that if he could maybe have just had like one breakout run, get one 20-yard run or whatever to add in there. But the touchdown was nice. Nice little leap. You got a nice lead block from Keith Smith. Good push up front. But they do need to get probably 3.4 yards per carry out of the running game. They probably want a little bit more, but we know how good that defensive front is for the Broncos. And but we can't end this show without talking about the tweet that was heard around the press box. We all got back upstairs from postgame, and from different corners of the press box throughout about a 15-minute span, you kind of kept hearing this music come along from a tweet that Marquette King sent out to his BFF, a little Chucky doll with money strewn all over it.
Yeah, Marquette was drinking some wine, and it was a weird video, just kind of
high production value though.
Yeah, that's some nice music, but I thought I was going to punt the doll or something. But
part 2's coming.
We just kind of stared at it, and part 2, I can't wait for part 2. But I mean, everyone knew that was coming. Marquette obviously has some sore feelings about the way things ended here in Oakland, and I'm sure he's very happy about this win. I mean, he was okay today. I wouldn't say he really won the matchup that decisively over Johnny Townsend. It was kind of close, but I guess Marquette King won the matchup and he won the game, so I'm sure that's the main thing.
He had that one punt, that 66-yarder that looked like it might sit at the 1 or the 2, and he was like getting ready to dance. We talked at dinner last night. We were kind of trying to predict what he might do if he.
I liked your call. What
my call was that he was going to do the Khalil Mack, the silencer sack dance. That would have been a pretty good troll move from him. I think that was a pretty good bet.
Speaking of troll moves, we talked about Bill Musgrave with that tweet the other day about
a quote,
a quote about how Frosty Rucker would be tough to stop. It was a hard matchup for him.
Like that matchup,
but Frosty Rucker actually played well. Frosty Rucker made some plays today, so maybe Bill wasn't trolling the Raiders. Maybe actually he was giving Frosty some props and not giving him a hard time about trading Khalil Mack. I'm sure it was a troll, John. But I know Raider fans don't want to hear this, and we're trying to be gentle, but if they had not panicked and not traded Khalil Mack, and if he was here, can you imagine Paul Guthridge's defense with Khalil Mack?
A lot different.
The way the other guys were playing, they would be really in good shape if they had just held firm and waited for Mack to show up. And because I don't think he's going to blow away game checks, but we'll never know. And I know that doesn't help anyone as far as what could have been, but. They don't have a pass rush. That's been the glaring thing the last 2 weeks. It's cost them probably 2 games. The lack of a pass rush.
Yep. All right, well, we're going to wrap up from here. Remember to check out all of our work over at the Athletic. Both got stories already up, and we'll have more coming over the next few days. And, of course, subscribe to the Athletic and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. Check out all the other apps that our podcast is on. YouTube. People are really liking it on YouTube lately.
Plus, again, Raider fans don't want to hear this, but have to give us some props. We had the lock.
We had the lock.
We gave you guys the Raiders +6 was a lock.
We both picked the Raiders to lose but cover.
People are just turning off the radio in disgust. Again, you don't want to hear that, but hey, a lock is a lock.
All right, well, Vic's going to get ready for South Beach, and I'll...
I'm leaving on, Tuesday? Can we get there early?
You're not leaving on Tuesday.
Do some advanced scouting?
No.
No?
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.